Okay guys, welcome to today's video. This is Dingus Punch here, telling you that Blitzcrank is actually broken and you don't know why and you don't know how to use him, and he's actually good? Well, I don't actually think he's like super good, honestly. I think he hangs, you know? He's decent. Um he's bad in terms of everyone else, but you know, I do think that a lot of people are not using him to his fullest potential. So today I'm kind of like going over my team's restand setups for Blitzcrank, but this should get all of you guys to look at pros. Like, people on Reddit, people complaining about Blitzcrank are not the people to trust for information about the character for the most part, because these people aren't people that like stick with the character, are dedicated to him, and are pushing him to new levels. So like, I'd say, aside from myself, like me and Habaduba, I think, are probably the premier Vi Blitz players. I mean, it's funny to say premier because, you know, we don't really go out to too many in-person tournaments, but we've played online quite a few, you know, TNSs, FlyQuest. Habaduba especially is doing really good work, and he's a very technical player. But you know, aside from me, like, if you play Blitz Yasuo, or, you know, if you play Blitz Yasuo, check out Quainy and Tate. They're so good, and like, they also make use of sort of the concept behind what I'm going into today. And then if you play something like Blitzcrank Braum, you know, check out that Fabulous Zucchini or Hispanic at the Disco. They also do the same thing. There's a lot of players out there that are really good, and like I said, like, they're not going to be on Reddit complaining. They're going to be actually logging in and playing the game. So, you know, find those players and take up that sort of mentality of just like, I gotta be better. I think my team, I believe in my team, but I don't think my team is good. Like, I think I can do what I can with my team, and I think it expresses my playstyle very well. I love my team, but I don't think it's good. But regardless, you know, I've gotten challenger the past 2 times, and I don't think I'm an exceptional player. I think you just gotta really stick to what you like, and if you stick to what you like and don't complain and have a good mentality about it, you're really gonna start to see yourself like pushing what you can do with your team, no matter what the situation. Okay, so aside from the long intro, I'll kind of get into the concept. So, you know, restands on their own, not super strong. What do you get? Like strike throw and some fake overhead mix. But what we're doing here is we're combining uh restands with hit stun resets. So if you don't even already know, you know, the concept of hit stun is like, as you go more into a combo, you can see like the hit stun scale goes up, and as the hit stun gets higher, the hit stun scaling gets higher, it's more like they will be in less hit stun, so they will fall out of a combo easier. So we take advantage of that by in restand situations that are extremely predictable, and we know exactly where they're going to be when we do it. We take advantage of that, and we can make a very ambiguous reset. So normally, you know, you see a jab, medium, heavy, and anyone who's seeing that is going to think it's going to combo, you know, but we use it at the end of our combo after a restand, in order to reset them in an extremely ambiguous way, because it's not obvious. A restand is like, they can mentally sort of see that that's happening, and they can try and prepare. But this, you need to have a good understanding of the character's moves and animations to know where that reset's going to happen, or just, you know, have it present in your mind. A lot of good players have it, but this works. This sort of tech will work on good players as well. Definitely works on not as good players, because you're locking them into mix up. But it hangs with good players. They're just more ready to block it and block multiple layers of mix, but it'll still hit them every once in a while. That's what you want. Like, this is a two-touch team. Big concept is like, the resets are really strong for 2 reasons. One is that you're taking off reversals completely. The only kind of reversal they could possibly do is a level 3 or a parry. Those are like the only 2 things they could do to reverse the situation. And we'll get into why parry is like kind of scary to do. And, you know, most of the time they're not going to have level 3. Another reason this is really good is because this is a 2-touch setup on almost the entire cast. And you only have to spend 1 meter to kill, which is extremely good. Can you imagine like getting through an entire health bar of someone only using meter once? It's very economical. It's very good. So let me get into the setup. So anything that will combo into a charged JH will get this. And one of the big benefits for this team specifically is Vi will always get them corner to corner, and then this Blitz situation is so predictable in the corner, so it's like really good. This is my combo, actually, but what am I doing? Okay, so just so y'all know, I've put a capture state there, the save state. So this is after my initial B&B. Remember, no meter or anything. And this is like, this is just cutting off the like last hit and then super of my B&B. So this is like, this can be a bit of a jump scare. Because whether or not I do this, or I can also go for a freestyle assist route where I just tech on more damage. So this is honestly like, this isn't set in stone. This makes it even more predictable. It's something you can keep in your pocket, or you can opt for more damage. It's just another layer to think about at the beginning of this, because I've shown in my other video, I do the same exact route and I do it into like a damage extender, but this reset is also something you can do, catches people off guard. So first thing you're seeing, I'm stealing corner. That's really weird. They expect to be put in the corner here. I snatched them right out of the corner at the last second. Okay, and this is where the hit stun reset's gonna come in. So remember, they're in the middle of a combo here. And look at the combo counter. See how it goes back down to nothing? It means I reset. There's enough of a gap that that it resets. They're getting hit with a fresh combo. So it's like, why is this good? I'm dropping the combo. Well, look how much of a gap there is. If you look on the bottom Vi, it's a 1 frame gap. And I can do it with medium too, and it's only a 2 frame gap. That was a 1 frame too, if I do it fast enough. So again, this is really like weird because it almost looks like you're about to get comboed, but there's just 1 frame of I'm getting a reset. Okay. Okay, now I'll explain. So there's mix up here. Like I said before, if you want to reversal, level 3 is your best bet. But if you don't have level 3, which most people will not because they got hit in this situation, first layer we can do, if you want to parry and completely reverse the situation, you have to guess mid or low. Already, if you want to parry, there's a 50-50 chance you're going to get it right. And that's not all the layers to the mix. Like, that's not all of the mix that you can do here. You have stuff like grab available and stuff like that. So, already, not good, right? And a lot of people are going to just get caught here not blocking because they don't know it's not going to combo. They're not ready to block. Or you'll catch them jumping because they're just waiting for a reset anyways to get grabbed, and it's not coming. Not here. Unless you really want to. That's kind of like the nuclear option. So, mid-low, right? We'll talk about that for a second. So, both of these will lead into death. Both of these options will lead into death. Very good. And then also on the table, you have overhead. But this has an actionable gap if you do jab. So what you can do is you can use medium instead. It still has an actionable gap, but if you want to close the gap to something that only loses to counter, you can do heavy into overhead. I opt not to do it because I think it makes it much more obvious to people who play long sets that if you're doing this, it's easier to react to or mash on if you're like committed to mashing, but it's less obvious. Whereas if you're doing this and someone has seen you do that every time followed by an overhead, then they're gonna know. And this would end your string as well. So it's kind of not what you want. Because you don't have access to a Gatling after that, except for 2H, which is not very useful. So yeah. We'll go into the routes off of all of these. And remember, you can grab too, and I'll get into the route for that after. It's kind of the hardest one. So this is all layer 1 of the reset. Keep that in mind. So low. And this is with a jab. So I heavily scaled it. Usually what you're going to do, you're going to hit confirm into this. It's super easy. And it's always going to kill. If you hit layer 1 with a strike, they're dead. And you have Blitz in the corner. Most of the time with Steam. So yeah, this is like the ideal thing. Is you beat him in layer 1. That's kind of what is ideal. It gets less ideal as it moves on because you start running out of resources and your opportunities for damage go down a little bit. But almost everything you do off this reset should kill. And I haven't optimized it all. It can definitely be optimized, and even then, I think it kills almost everything kills on Vi. I use Vi as kind of my standard baseline for character health. Okay, so that's low and mid. We'll go into that, right? What about overhead? So we'll go into overhead. This one's, so there's two things. One thing is this route, I think Etsy kind of came up with it when we were messing around with it. So if you dial in Crater Maker, you get a ton of damage. Dialing in Crater Maker and combos is super good. I use it a lot now because if you can ever do that into a Blitz BNB, it's a ton of damage. It's so much damage. It's such a weird quirk of the team. I don't know why. Okay. So that's like kind of the Etsy route that he found. What I like to do is like, I feel like this is ideal just because there's no layer of having to react on my end. I can just program this and it'll work. Because you have handshake tag available. And this still does a ton of damage and kills most characters. And like I said, it's programmable. As soon as that overhead goes off, I can handshake tag without worry. You just need to do a tiny little backdash. And his buttons are so big, so it's better for Blitzcrank to be further away from the corner than into the corner. It's always better to be a little further out, so because his buttons, you know, move forward a bit, and they're huge, so they're not likely to miss even if you back up a lot. So yeah, that's kind of what you get with overhead. There's like a weird quirk of the game where overhead scaling off of handshake tags are just non-existent pretty much. Overheads are super broken for combos. So that's your sort of option for overhead. And we'll go into the route for command grab here. I think regular grab has a really complicated way of killing. I'm not going to go into it. I'm going to get into command grab. So let's see. Corner to corner, Blitz has Steam, kills most characters. Very, very good. And that's still, again, like first layer. But again, that's grab, so you're risking if they jump, you get rid of it. So I'll kind of tell you the risk reward, like strikes. In order of least risk, low and mid, least risk. Going for the low and mid route off the reset, least risk. And it leads into so much more of a tree. So that's like least risk leads into more mix. Overhead is next. Overhead, you don't get to do the whole mix afterwards. So I'm going to start putting them to block so you start to see more of what comes after. Because a lot of this is going to be strike. So the Blitz section will be strike throw mostly. So if you go for overhead, you know, you get strike throw mix. And that's what you were kind of getting anyways with Blitz. So it's not the worst thing. You get put into a strike throw situation with Blitz, which is usually all he has anyways, but you are sacrificing a very, very good setup that I have cooked up. So overhead is sort of next on the list, and then the sort of riskiest option is going for grab. It'll all kill, but grab is the riskiest. You know, if they jump, then you're kind of screwed. And you have no access to handshake tag, so everything that comes from this setup is kind of just disappears. This is the sort of nuclear option because if they have godlike reactions and they block everything, you can try and test them with strike throw. Especially if they're looking out for an overhead or a low, then you can try them with strike throw. But that, I feel like it's so much riskier. So I tend to have that as a sort of last resort when I really need to try and 50-50 people with strike throw. Okay, so getting into the setup that I cooked. Now that I'm having him block, we'll see. This is like pretty set in stone. Okay, the only thing is that when you go into layer 2, it's going to, what you decide to do can change. It's very tricky. It's a very scary situation for even good players to be in here. Okay, so off of regular strike on the hit stun reset, you'll basically do 5H into charge lariat and handshake tag. This is what you're doing. That's what you're setting up. So here you have access to Blitz. Basically, every time you can jab, you have access to strike throw, right? So I can jab, do that. Or I can just grab, right? Or, and this is the hardest one. You can do that. Okay, so a bunch of strike throw. And this is the most difficult layer, I feel like. Most people will lose to the jab than throw, because it's such a scary situation. They're contending with a lariat, possibly blowing them up for any point that they jump. Like, a lot of people will freeze up here, right? But at the end of the day, this part is kind of your weakest link, because it's strike throw. But this is the only situation I've found with this team where I can get, like, some pretty good high-low mix with Blitz. And again, like, this can probably be fuzzied, but fuzzy doesn't exist in a vacuum. When you're contending with 1 or 2 frames of difference from shifting to back to down back, it can be a little difficult sometimes, you know. So okay, so pretty much if you want to play it super safe and get to this high-low mix, you can always do 5L 5L with Blitz. You can always do this. So what you're going to do is you're going to 5L 5L with Blitz, and then after a delay, you're going to jump back and double JL. So that's high-low mix because you can either do high-high or you can do high-low on landing. And you can get that cross-up one too. I'm glad that I got it that fast because that one has the hardest timing. But you can get that weird cross-up one. And again, like, this entire time, they're in block stun. So you can also set up a grab with the tiny hit stun reset from the JL. When you, at that late into the move, when you hit him with a low hit stun move, like, that block stun's going to go away a lot faster, so you can set up a tick throw, too. Okay, so we kind of get into the routing that you're doing at layer 2. You know, if you do manage to hit an overhead with Blitz, this is kind of like... The only thing is that this is just... When you start a combo with this, it's a little less than ideal. It's going to be kind of hard for you to push the amount of damage that you want to kill in 2 touches. It just barely won't, but having them in a chip kill situation is still not super bad. But that mix-up is pretty strong, right? So... take it into account, you know. It might not quite kill unless, like, you know, someone finds routing that does kill, then that'd be awesome. But as far as I've labbed it, I haven't really done it too much, so I don't have a route that totally kills when I do the overhead. But the main part here is these oops, I need to block. So what you're gonna do is, like, after Vi's Lariat goes off and your command grab hits, you want to turn Vi around back the other way by starting to charge the Lariat. If she goes too far away, this will drop, so this is kind of tight. And then after that, you pick up into a tag launcher, then you do fully charged JH with Blitzcrank, and after that, you get 4 hits of Wrecking Ball into Enhanced Super 2. Let me try it again. And it kills Vi, so it kills most characters. You even do this if you do the super messed up one. And it still kills. So again, this is on bias, so it'll kill most characters. One neat thing is if you do the double, and you mistime your grab, as long as you're not doing like a walkthrough grab, you're plus. You see how plus you are? So that's like one good thing. Even though you can't tag, you can't like you can't handshake tag because you whiffed a command grab. It's still your turn. So it's a very, very good setup to do that. It's just the timing is a little more strict, and if you mess up, it could blow you up. Like if you mess up and do the walking one. So yeah, layer 2 is, I think, very, very interesting. And then there's one more layer. If you decide to do... So that's the core of the mix-up. Is you're gonna get J8. You're gonna get Blitz's charge H, which you should be able to set up almost every time. Because the lariat puts them in so much block stun, you can kind of reliably get them into the charged H. And then you hit him with Mix here. So you don't actually have to hang around and do that. You can hit him with a really fast one. Like that. So you're hitting them overhead. But yeah, there's some variability on what side you land on. Right, you can do that, and then the side that you land on is different. I think that it's best when you use super jump, because you get a lot more ambiguity to it. I think that especially. Yeah. So the trick comes to like when you super jump, if you hold down on your super jump, you actually fall faster. So if you do a super jump and don't hold down, you're in the air a little longer. And then if you hold down, you are in a little less time. So me holding down, same side. Me not holding down, cross up. Okay? And that's aside from like, you know, you get overhead low mix too. So you can do that for low. Overhead. They're forced standing, so they have to eat that mix. So that's the last layer. I think and doing JH, this, like doing ejector seat, gets you out of gets you away from them, so you don't get punished for messing up that mix up. And doing the low gives you like one more little string and a chance to run away with sway. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. The routing on that last part is really just kind of what you would expect. Like, let me take off the block. It's pretty basic, but it should get you enough damage. Like, it's just a ton of damage. Like, that will handedly kill if you hit the overhead. And then the low, you know. If you hit them low, then you get a fresh another one of these. And you kill. So that last part is also very dangerous and can also kill. So extremely layered reset. And I mean, the thing is, like, this is predictable. You always know how to do this. Because it's so consistent with Blitzcrank's restand. So the final things I want to say, you know, thanks so much for checking out the channel. I'm thinking about opening up a Discord and maybe being available for coaching for those people who are interested in like paying or something. It feels weird to take payment, but you know, if it's like a popular request, like I might open myself up to help coaching people. I definitely want to make it reasonable because I already like a reasonable price because I already feel weird about taking money for the sake of coaching. So I'll even if it is popular, I'll try to make it like one of the cheaper ones out there. Another thing is, you know, this one was like I kind of spelled it out for people who play Vi Blitzcrank. But for anyone out there who plays another Blitz team, like, don't get in the doomer mindset. Like, don't be, you know, overly pessimistic about the character. It's not gonna get you immediate change. It's not gonna make you any better. Adaptation's the best thing. Broad exploration's the best thing. If you're not already, like, taking in as many VODs as you can of your team, or researching who the best player is, or, you know, contacting the best person in your region, on that character or anything like that, then I don't think that you're doing it in good faith. You know, I said it earlier, like people who are really trying to push the team aren't complaining on Reddit. Like the people who are trying to make the most out of the team and are doing the best with the team aren't on Reddit. They're already like playing in tournaments. They're doing what they can to develop tech and get their characters up to the level of professional play. And there's players who have done it already. Like I've also taken names that are pretty good, you know, and my team is not great. Even what most pro players say is like garbage, you know, but I'll never really treat it like that because this team fits me like a glove, I feel like, and I have to believe in the team. Otherwise, there's no reason to play the team. Like, why would I play if I didn't think I could win on this team? So yeah, like, have a good mentality about it. Be very open and accepting and just do research and have fun. Hopefully this was like somewhat useful. I think that there's a lot of potential with restands that's just not explored. Again, everything has its weaknesses, but those weaknesses don't exist in a vacuum. People are not going to respond correctly 100% of the time just because of the weakness existing. You know? So, there's that. Do your research. Thanks so much for checking this out. Hopefully it helps a lot of you guys out. Want to see more Blitz players out there. You have a great day.